y'all? It's Manny here with another Just Cuz review of Disney Marvel's WandaVision. So, things look a little different because I was trying to do a parody opening here with the whole black and white 4:3 aspect ratio, just like the show. But, I'm pretty limited what I could do here since I don't know how to do special effects or green screen, changing the background. So yeah, I really couldn't think of anything clever to do. So, let's go back to normal.
Oh, look at that. No Infinity Gauntlet required. Now, I want to make something clear. I'm a big superhero fan, but that doesn't mean I'm necessarily a big comic book fan. Not saying I don't like comic books, but I grew up with like the animated series of these shows, like from Spider-Man, Batman, all that stuff, and the movies. I had more access to a television than I did a comic book. So I do appreciate the medium and stuff, but I never kept track of it. And I still don't to this day. There's just a lot of stuff, to catch up on. With that being said, I am not too familiar with the Scarlet Witch character. So there's some characters in this show that I've never even heard of until now. So just, throwing that out there. So the way I'm gonna do this review is I'm gonna go episode by episode. And what I'm not gonna do is break it down to a T and be like, oh, these are all the clues in this episode, this is how it all connects, because honestly, a lot of that stuff went over my head. I didn't catch everything. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk about the parts that stood out to me and the stuff I liked, stuff I didn't like, and just get the gist of the story out there. As of this recording, the final episode has not been released yet, so I have no idea how it's gonna end. But I will know by the end of this review, which is probably gonna be my longest review to date. So let's hurry up and get started with episode 1, filmed before a live studio audience.
So, I started watching this show when episode 6 came out since there were a lot of spoilers out there. I originally wanted to binge this show, but whatever. Speaking of which, spoiler warning. I don't see how else I could talk about the show. Now, I had a theory already before this show got released. I figured this was all Wanda's doing. I mean, I think that's obvious. I also thought this took place after the Thanos snap. Basically, with her powers, she was able to make her own reality with her loved one, Vision. And that's all I guessed. This episode is a straight up old school 1950s sitcom. I used to watch I Love Lucy when I was a kid during Nick at Night, so I appreciated the homage to that era here. Other than that, it's nothing amazing. It was entertaining, but nothing like, oh my god, it's super funny, So the story here is that Wanda and Vision can't remember why they put a heart on the calendar for a specific day. Wanda thinks it's for their anniversary, but Vision then finds out it's because he invited his boss over for dinner. So then, hilarity ensues as Wanda has to quickly make dinner. Yeah, straightforward. The only strange thing that happens here is when the boss demands to know where they came from. Wanda doesn't remember and neither does Vision, so the boss starts to choke for what seems like 5 minutes.
Stop it. Stop it.
My god, help him already! Damn! The boss's wife then starts to say stop it repeatedly, and yeah, it's pretty weird. Vision then finally helps the boss. Then things get back to normal and the first episode is over as we see someone is watching this on TV.
Episode 2, don't touch that dial.
So this episode changes things up a bit with an intro similar to Bewitched. They're in the 60s now, even bringing their beds together, which they couldn't do in I Love Lucy for its whole run, so this is a pretty cool nod to that. Wanda and Vision are getting ready to do a magic show for the talent show fundraiser for Westview Elementary. Now, it's pretty obvious things are going to start to get a little weirder as the show goes along. Wanda goes outside her home and finds a toy helicopter in color. Agnes, her neighbor, then pops up before Wanda can make sense of it. Agnes was also in the first episode. She's like Wanda's BFF throughout the show. Wanda is at a planning event for the talent show where she meets Geraldine. Remember her, she's important, even though she doesn't do much in this episode. Here's the next weird thing that happens with this radio.
Wanda! What?
Looks like the outside world is trying to contact Wanda. Anyway, the talent show starts and Vision is acting drunk because he swallowed some gum by mistake, and hilarity ensues. Again, entertaining, but we're here for the Marvel connections, damn it. They win the talent show, and then at the end, Wanda is pregnant. Just like that, no sex scene. Aww. Then the next weird thing that happens is this guy in a beekeeper's suit pops up from the sewer. Wanda then rewinds the tape to make it look like it never happened. Now we get color and the 1970s theme.
Episode 3, now in color.
With a Mary Tyler Moore / Brady Bunch opening,
1+1 is family. WandaVision.
this episode is mostly all about Wanda's pregnancy. After a house visit from the doctor, Vision catches his neighbor, glitching out. Wanda's pregnancy is going extremely fast as she's already about to pop. Vision can't even keep up. Wanda's contractions are so intense it starts shaking the whole neighborhood. This starts to make Vision suspicious that things aren't normal, but Wanda does a little rewind to get him off track again. Wanda has more contractions, so Vision goes out to get a doctor instead of, taking her to the hospital. I guess giving birth at home was still common in the 1970s, I don't know. Geraldine comes in and then there's a stork walking around. Yeah, more weird shit, as Wanda's about to give birth. Geraldine helps her as she has a baby boy with Vision and the doctor finally getting there.
But wait, there's more!
Another baby! Twins! So the doctor's work is done, so Vision walks him out and asks him about his vacation.
Yes, my trip. I don't think we'll get away after all. Small towns, so hard to escape.
Back inside, Wanda says that she is a twin too and mentions her brother Pietro, aka Quicksilver, to Geraldine, which triggers her to remember that he got killed by Ultron. Wanda begins to freak out as Agnes explains to Vision that Geraldine doesn't belong there in Westview. Vision rushes inside and only Wanda is standing there looking evil. We then see Geraldine crash land back into the real world as members of S.W.O.R.D. surround her.
Episode 4, we interrupt this program.
With this show playing his cards close to his chest, we finally get much more information on what the heck is going on here. This episode starts with a blip where people started coming back from Thanos' snap, and man, this is very interesting, scary, and a confusing perspective. You can see the panic the situation would have in the real world. We see Geraldine came back from the snap and we find out that her real name is Monica Rambeau, the daughter of Maria Rambeau, the pilot from Captain Marvel who died 2 years after the Thanos snap from cancer. Fast forward a bit and now we're in S.W.O.R.D. headquarters, which I guess has replaced S.H.I.E.L.D.? Now, the only Marvel movies I haven't seen have been the Ant-Man movies because those just did not interest me whatsoever. I also never watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so at first I'm like, did I miss something? What the hell is S.W.O.R.D.? I guess this is established here unless I forgot if they mentioned it in another movie. Look man, there's like 23 of these movies, alright? I'm not gonna remember every detail. Anyway, Monica gets sent to Westview, New Jersey to help aid in the investigation of what is going on over there. She meets up with fan favorite FBI agent Jimmy Woo, who I missed in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie. So they ask local law enforcement about the town, but they say it doesn't exist. Whatever brujeria is going on here has people nearby forgetting about the town completely. Monica goes to touch the force field when it sucks her in. Giggity. S.W.O.R.D. sets up camp and gets Darcy Lewis, giggity, from Thor to help. She sees there are some airwaves or something with a Big Bang signal? I don't know. So she asks for an old CRT TV to see if she gets a signal, and voila! WandaVision. We also see that the beekeeper guy was a S.W.O.R.D. agent, and that Jimmy was the one trying to talk to Wanda through the radio. We get a more detailed look at Wanda getting Monica out of her bubble, with Monica saying,
It's Wanda. It's all Wanda.
Now this is most definitely the most interesting episode yet, as it gives you a lot more answers. Remember my theory that Wanda was the one doing all this? Well, I also thought she was doing it like in another dimension, not in the real world. And obviously this takes place after Endgame, not after Infinity War like I thought. This also hints at Wanda being the main villain here, which is very interesting. She lost her loved one, Vision, so she made a world where he is still alive, but she's keeping a whole town hostage. Very, very interesting.
Very interesting indeed. Oh, episode 5 on a very special episode.
We're in the 80s. Agnes comes to help them with the twins, but she flubs the line.
I'm sorry?
You want me to hold the babies? Should we just take it from the top?
Vision notices this and questions Wanda about it, who just shrugs it off. My god, they grow up so quick. Then we get a Family Ties style intro. Never seen that show, but I am familiar with that intro. It's been parodied enough. If I had to pick my favorite 80s sitcom, it would have to be The Cosby Show. But we all know why that can't be referenced. Monica describes her time in there as unpleasant, but still decides to defend Wanda. I don't know if I buy that. Why is she defending her so hard? From all accounts, this sounds like a terrible experience for all of the Westview town folks. I imagine this being like if you're stuck in sleep paralysis. Something if you've experienced, you know how much it sucks and how scary it is. To be conscious but not being able to move and scream while hearing or seeing things is an experience I don't wish on anybody. Screw Wanda for that, that's torture. I guess Monica was feeling what Wanda was feeling, and I guess she did protect her when she launched her out. Wait, damn, is Wanda not gonna be the villain in this? Come on, that would have been super interesting. We then see that Wanda broke into Sword HQ and stole Vision's body to resurrect him in her bubble. The team then finds out that things that go in there change to fit the time, so since Wanda's Hex, which I guess is what they're calling it now, is in the 80s, they send an 80s drone to try and communicate with her, but the Sword Commander wants to shoot her. Wanda gets pissed, then she comes out and warns all of them to leave her alone or else. This part was badass.
Stand down!
Yo, imagine if she just has all of them shoot each other. That would have been freaking nuts. But she's not the villain. We go back and Vision finally confronts Wanda about controlling everyone. He wants her to let everyone free.
No, there's a family, Wanda. He has a family and he can't reach them because you won't let him reach them.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Stop lying to me!
Wanda says she doesn't know how all of this is happening, and then the doorbell rings and it's her brother, Pietro, aka Quicksilver, the Evan Peters version. This was a great episode. The ball is really rolling on this show by this point compared to the slow start. We're finally getting some payoff here.
Episode 6, all new Halloween Spooktacular.
We're in the 90s/early 2000s with a Malcolm in the Middle style opening. It's Halloween and the twins are scared to wake up their uncle, giving us a hint that something is up with him. But my god, look at Wanda. Okay, sorry if I sound thirsty here, but she is so hot in that cheap, comic-accurate Scarlet Witch costume. Elizabeth Olsen, I think you're my new celebrity crush. Absolutely stunning. But I digress. Vision wants to roam around solo for Halloween to Wanda's displeasure. Sword director Tyler Hayward gets into an argument with the rest of the main cast and kicks them out, but they fight back. Quicksilver is sure making a lot of Hell references as Wanda questions him and asks why does he look so different?
Hey, it's cool. I know I look different.
Why do you look different?
You tell me. I mean, if I had found Shangri-La, I wouldn't want to be reminded of the past either.
Back to Vision, who has gone so far out of the main show's area that people are just stuck in a loop. Oh man, just look at this lady. She's suffering. See? Just like sleep paralysis. Get f***ed, Wanda. You can take that as an insult, or if you want to take it literally, I could be the one. Damn. Gotta take it back a notch for the thirst. Come on, Manny, focus. Okay, I think this is a good time to mention that almost every episode has a commercial break that fits the time period they're in. One of them has a Hydra logo on it. As of this episode, I don't know if they're all connected to give you a clue about what's going on or what, but I just think they're neat. The one for this episode is pretty dark. Kid dies because he can't open this yogurt. Yeah, weird. Back to the real world. The team discovers that Hayward is tracking Vision for some reason. Speaking of Vision, he then gets closer to the edge of town where the townsfolk might as well be in a T-pose. He finds Agnes in a car as she too is acting strange, so he saps her brain to snap her out of Wanda's spell.
Agnes, it is my intention to reach those outside of Westview and make sense of our situation.
How? No one leaves. Wanda won't even let us think about it.
She gets a bit hysterical, so he saps her mind back. Vision has seen enough as he tries to leave Wanda's hex. This begins to tear him apart. I'm assuming because he's dead in the real world. Back to Wanda, we see that one of her kids has super speed. Her and Quicksilver begin to question each other heavily, both being very suspicious of each other. Quicksilver flat out asks her how did she do it.
I don't know how I did it. I only remember feeling completely alone.
Turns out Wanda's other kid has powers too, as he senses his dad is dying, so Wanda expands her hex and swallows up more land and people, turning the Sword agents into circus clowns and stuff. Oh, and I think she just killed Pietro.
Oh, episode 7, Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Okay, so I binged the first 6 episodes, but I had to wait for episode 7. So, I started seeing a couple of reviews for the series, and in those reviews, they start to speculate what was going to happen since these certain reviewers are extremely familiar with the comic books. Remember, I'm not. So, let's just say they put a lot of suspicion on Agnes that I will admit I didn't catch. More on that later. Now, we get to a Modern Family parody mixed with The Office, though the intro theme is definitely The Office. I guess taking place in current times? There's a lot of glitches happening here in Wanda's Matrix as she seems to be losing her grip. The kids ask what happened to their uncle Pietro, and Wanda explains that he wasn't their real uncle, but that's all she could explain.
I have no answers. Zip, zero, zip. Nada, niente.
Agnes then comes and takes the boys away to give a depressed Wanda some alone time, promising not to bite the kids. Vision wakes up in the carnival or circus, whatever you want to call it, and finds Darcy and saps her head so she can act normal, and help him get back to Wanda and his kids. But one of the carnies tries to force Vision to perform, so they escape. They come across a roadblock that never ends when Vision remembers just who the f*** he is, and starts to fly back home. In the real world, we see Monica getting ready to re-enter Wanda's hex. Prior to this, Darcy warned her that if she goes in again, it could mess up her DNA. So you know what that means. She's gonna get superpowers! Monica makes it in and gets to Wanda, who doesn't want to hear any of it. Agnes then comes and takes Wanda away to her place. Then things start to get weird. I really got some It Chapter 2 vibes from this. For a second there, I thought we were gonna see a deformed naked Agnes chase Wanda around the house. Very creepy. Wanda asks for her kids and Agnes says they're in the basement. She goes down there and if you haven't guessed it by now, Agnes is revealed as a villain. Another witch whose real name is Agatha Harkness. Prior to this show, I've never heard of this character, so this is new to me. This is where the reviews I watched spoiled it. But I guess by this episode, whether or not you know who the Harkness character is, you know something is up with Agnes. It looks like this reveal was obvious for a lot of people. Typically when something is very predictable, people hate it. But like a lot of stuff in the MCU, it got a pass. But to be fair, probably just a lot of people really excited about this Harkness character finally showing up in the MCU. Again, for me, it got spoiled. So I was waiting for it. But I'm still a bit intrigued since I know nothing about this character. We then get this very campy Agatha All Along song that everyone loves.
Who's been messing up everything? It's been Agatha all along.
It's okay. Matches the show, I guess. Kind of cool to see what she actually did behind the scenes. Though the camp brings it down some. Would have been cool though if they would have kept the tone a bit darker. We get our first post-credit scene where Monica finds the evil basement and Pietro catches her. So look, he's still alive.
Episode 8, previously on.
This episode starts in 1693, Salem, Massachusetts, in what looks like a witch trial, but by other witches. Agatha was practicing dark magic that goes against their rules. So now they're gonna kill her with magic. But she turns it against them. Even against her mother here. I want to give credit to the de-aging effects here too on Agatha. It looks pretty good. She then reveals she possessed a person to act as Pietro to keep tabs on her. Basically, he was her eyes and ears, and she couldn't use the real Pietro because his body was buried in another continent and full of bullet holes. Agatha wants to know how Wanda did all of this, the hex. So, it's not Agatha behind it. It really is Wanda. It takes a lot of power and knowledge to be able to pull off such a spell, so Agatha is gonna get to the bottom of it by looking through Wanda's life. She has her kids hostage, so Wanda has to play along. They go back in time to when she was a kid, and we see her father has DVDs of a bunch of sitcoms, and this is how Wanda got to learn English. Also, her dad here is not Magneto, so she's probably not a mutant, unless they're just remixing parts of the original storyline. I personally don't care about that. I'm not married to the original story. They can change it up. Since they have a Malcolm in the Middle DVD, looks like this is in 2001 or so. They all gather around as a family to watch some sitcoms. Aww. Jesus! Okay, I forgot to mention they're living in Sokovia during a war. That bomb killed her parents. And this bomb with the Tony Stark logo is about to kill them too, but the bomb never went off. Agatha thinks that she stopped it with her powers, but Wanda says that the bomb was a dud. Agatha still needs to see how her powers got so strong, so they skip ahead in time. Wanda is in some sort of experiment where she has to touch the Mind Stone and survives as we get this trippy scene and see the Scarlet Witch. This amplified her power. We then skip to where Wanda starts to get close to Vision in the Avengers compound after her brother's death. She's watching more sitcoms as Vision thinks the people are getting hurt for real. Oh, and look, a Bryan Cranston cameo. Now, I didn't catch this the first time watching this episode, but this scene also helps explain why she went with sitcoms for her hex. People don't really get hurt in them, and with Wanda in so much pain, it makes sense for her to want to live in a sitcom-style world. Next, we see Wanda trying to retrieve Vision's body so she could give him a proper burial. Hayward says he can't allow her to bury $3 billion worth of vibranium. My god, Vision should lend me a helping hand so I can cash that in. Jeez, no wonder Wakanda's poppin'. Anyway, Hayward lets her say goodbye to him, and she does. She doesn't steal the body, just says goodbye. So yeah, this prick Hayward lied to us. Okay, so for sure he's the villain. Wanda then goes back to her car and finds a note from Vision. I guess before he died? They don't really explain how the note got there. But anyways, she drives down to Westview, New Jersey, and we get a good look at the cast before they were casted in Wanda's hex. So the note was a property deed. And in it, it looks like Vision wrote a note saying to grow old in, with a heart. I guess that's where she got the idea from for her first episode. So it looks like this is the property that Vision bought for them, so they could, live happily ever after. Realizing that this is not gonna happen anymore, Wanda breaks down. She has lost everything. Everything she has gone through is so tragic. Obviously, Elizabeth Olsen has nailed it so far, but my god, this is a great performance on her end. With that realization that she has lost everything and has nothing else to live for, she creates the hex. And she even creates Vision with no body. She just creates him out of her own power. So she really can create life. That would explain the twins. I am doing this voiceover before the last episode gets released. Right now I'm speculating that these creations of hers cannot exist outside of her hex. So I think when shit goes down and she has to get rid of the hex, she's gonna lose her creations, her loved ones again. But that's enough speculation. It looks like Agatha got her answers to end the episode.
This is chaos magic, Wanda. And that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
As for the mid-credit scene, we see Hayward bringing Vision back to life with a drone Wanda threw back at them that was touched by her power. He's back to life, but he's colorless now. I'm assuming he's evil. Let's see.
Episode 9, the series finale.
I feel like there's still a good amount of questions left for this show. So let's see if this final episode answers it all. The fight begins as Agatha wants Wanda to use her powers against her so she can absorb it. Agatha even bargains with her, saying that if Wanda gives her her powers, she will let her live out her life in the hex forever. But Wanda just throws a car at her. White Vision then shows up and puts Wanda in a false state of comfort as he tries to crush her head, but then the Hex Vision shows up and saves her. Now we're getting an epic superpowered showdown. Wanda tells Agatha that she isn't a witch, that she never practiced magic, but according to Agatha's book, she is, and it's her destiny to destroy the world. Then the people that Wanda has been holding hostage gets freed by Agatha and they start to tell her off.
We feel your pain. Your grief is poisoning us.
No, stop.
Please, let us go.
Wanda then has a social anxiety attack and starts to choke them, but then lets them go and opens up the hex, enough for them to leave. Sword agents then take the opportunity to come in. Back to Monica, we see that she discovers that Pietro is just a guy named Ralph Boner. She then takes a necklace off him that was controlling him. This is very anticlimactic. So he's not freaking Quicksilver from another dimension. That sucks. We all loved him as Quicksilver, but I guess this is it for Evan Peters. The hex being open is now killing Vision and their kids, so she closes up shop once again. Hex Vision continues his fight with White Vision, but then he saps his brain to show him the truth about their history. After that, White Vision just leaves. Alrighty then, bye. Monica and the boys take on the Sword Troops, and then Darcy crashes into Hayward, and that's it. He lost. Man, so far, not the most epic endings for these villains. Wanda does that mind trick to Agatha to try to take her down, but Agatha is just too good.
You can't win, Wanda. Power isn't your problem, it's knowledge.
Wanda goes back to fighting in the real world of her hex as she keeps blasting Agatha with power as she absorbs it. Wanda is out of juice, so Agatha is about to go for the final blow, but Wanda is the Scarlet Witch after all, so all that power stays with her.
In a given space, only the witch who cast them can use her magic.
She takes down Agatha and finally gets her Scarlet Witch costume. She doesn't kill Agatha, but keeps her mind trapped as the nosy neighbor. This I feel like it was right. Not the most epic thing, but I like it. Wanda goes home as the hex starts to close down. She puts her boys to sleep one more time, and then she says goodbye to Vision as well.
We have said goodbye before, so it stands to reason.
We'll say hello again.
This part was very touching. Poor Wanda. Westview, New Jersey finally gets back to normal, and we're left with the sense that the townspeople hate Wanda. Rightfully so, but Monica doesn't.
Given the chance and giving your power, I'd bring my mom back.
Though I still think Monica defending Wanda so hard was kinda dumb, that line made it more justified, I guess. Wanda vows to learn how to use her powers and flies away, ending the final episode. We got 2 post-credit scenes, with the first one about Monica meeting up with a Skrull, setting up Captain Marvel 2. Sounds like she wants to meet her up in space. The last post-credit scene is Wanda being all Doctor Strange-like, studying the magic book when she hears her kids setting up Doctor Strange 2. And that's WandaVision, a show I gave it up to for being pretty unique and original. The production values were great too, on par with the movies. Great acting from the cast. This is the most we've seen from Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany as their characters, and they nailed it. They are the heart of the show. The supporting cast is great too, and yes, Kathryn Hahn is very charismatic as Agnes and Agatha. I'm also looking forward to see more of Tiona Paris as Monica in Captain Marvel 2. I hope I said her name right. Now, the pacing of the show was a bit off and definitely had a slow burn, which I usually don't mind, but it just made some episodes not so exciting. Maybe I'm just used to binging shows now. We are pretty spoiled with that now, so maybe waiting week to week just isn't as effective anymore to keep excitement levels up. Pietro coming back got spoiled for me, and so did the Agatha reveal, so that did hinder my excitement too. But there's still enough here to keep my interest overall, and kept me looking forward to the new episodes each week. They would have all these questions hanging to keep interest too. Most of them got answered, though we don't know what happened to White Vision, and I still don't know how that note got in her car. I guess that wasn't important. It'll be embarrassing if they showed like when they put the note in there and I just missed it. I did rewatch some of the episodes too, and I still didn't catch when that note got in the car. I didn't see her carry it. Who put it there? Damn it! Wanda being the main villain would have been cool. The whole tragic villain thing could have been done, but They played it safe and had Agatha and Hayward take the blow. Though at least we know that in the eyes of the Westview town folks, Wanda is a villain. She still took them all hostage, you know, so she's not innocent in all this. Also, it wasn't really Agatha all along. Wanda was really behind it all, so yeah, I could have seen this being a 2-hour movie as well, but this as a show is fine too. Maybe they could have picked up the pace in the first few episodes. So yeah, not my favorite, but still worth checking out if you've been invested in the MCU and want to see what's gonna happen next. Honestly, the MCU does feel like it peaked with Thanos, but the future does look promising now, thanks to WandaVision, which I give a 7 out of 10.
So yeah, that's WandaVision. I think it's pretty cool that in this promo shot you could always see her final costume. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Anyways, from the moment I heard about this show, it did sound pretty weird, but then I saw the first trailer and I was, you know, pretty intrigued. Overall, it wasn't like, oh my god, amazing, this incredible thing, but if you've been watching the Marvel movies and, you know, and want to see what's next, this is definitely obviously worth checking out. If you are not a fan of the Marvel movies and you just pick up from here, you're gonna be lost. So this is for the Marvel fans. Even though I think a lot of Marvel fans were disappointed that this didn't connect already to like the X-Men or something like that, or you know, there is hints of the multiverse with Doctor Strange, but in terms of like X-Men or mutants, nothing there. I am disappointed with the Evan Peters thing. That was, you know, kind of disappointing. But yeah, what did you think about WandaVision? Love it, hate it? Comment below, let everybody know. And this review has gone on long enough. So with that, this has been a review of WandaVision, just 'cause.